How did you have the foresight that that would be an ideal segment for industrial development?
40 years before I even showed up, somebody thought about that. They saw the plans for that airport. They knew someday we'd be real close to that runway. There were a couple of warehouses and things were growing, but nobody was paying attention to the infrastructure.
What is the impact of jobs, well-being of the residents in the city of Fontana?
People were driving when they first came out to Fontana, to Orange County, Los Angeles County, and as far as San Diego, to work. They don't have to do that now because most of the industrial building coming into Fontana is manufacturing.
Your vision for the city and how it's all kind of been incorporated into that.
So the first thing I did as mayor is make sure our Chamber of Commerce was strong, and it involves all the different types of businesses. So we're doing whatever we need to do to get people and incentivize them to come to Fontana.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Healthy Fontana Initiative?
Actually, it started when I was a council person. Everyone had a project, a passion. So I went to all the other council people and said, can I join in on yours? You know, I was just this like new kid on the block trying to fit in. And everybody said, get your own.
Over the last decade, Southern California's Inland Empire became the undisputed supply chain capital of the entire nation. And right at the very center of that explosion was one city, Fontana. While other municipalities pushed back on development, Fontana leaned in, permitting tens of millions of square feet of modern Class A industrial space, pulling in massive tax revenues, and transforming from a small steel town into a national logistics powerhouse. But rapid growth brings complex challenges. How do you balance the massive economic revenue of goods movement with heavy traffic, residential quality of life, and mounting regulatory pressures like Assembly Bill 98 coming out of Sacramento? Today, we sit down with Mayor Acquanetta Warren. First elected as mayor in 2010, she has spearheaded Fontana's economic transformation, championed major infrastructure overhauls, and led the city to become one of the fiscally strongest municipalities in America. In this episode, we break down the true state of the city, how industrial tax dollars fund local public safety and community programs, her personal journey in public service, and her vision as she runs for re-election. I'm Assar, and welcome to Adding Value. Mayor Warren, it's a real honor and a pleasure to have you here with us today.
The honor is mine.
When we look at industrial development, the city of Fontana has been a beacon of industrial development in the Inland Empire, and you've been on the forefront of that.
Oh, yeah.
Can you please just share with us kind of the state of the city as it is today, right now?
The state of our city is really excellent, actually outstanding. $898 million in budget. We are fiscally responsible, and I have to say that slow because people go, what does that mean? What it means is we're paying our bills.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, everything we do is toward making sure the people that live in our town have the best quality of life. We got 58 parks. We have renovation going on all over the city. Our streets are getting paved, sidewalks are getting fixed, trees getting trimmed. Sidewalks are probably one of the biggest issues because of trees, but we've been able to get in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
We street sweep, we pick up the trash, but more importantly, our police show up when you call them. Fire shows up. Everything is going very well. Are we perfect? No. We just keep working at it, and we keep trying to renovate things. And that's all because of the industrial market.
And you bring up a good point, because as a broker and being in the industrial space, you know, I've always kind of wondered, you know, when you look at developers that are building in a city and they're paying fees.
Right.
I've always kind of wondered how these fees mechanically work and trickle down into the city. Can you kind of share with us some insight on that?
Absolutely. You know, people always come to our council meeting, I'm paying your salary. Okay, what does that mean? All the taxes are not coming to the city. Property taxes, we get less than 3%. But a lot of that money comes out of our city, goes to federal and state and the county. Mm-hmm. And so that's why you see us jumping on planes, lobbying to get our money back. Mm-hmm. We have to go and get people's money back. But locally, sales tax, that's what really drives a town. Mm-hmm. And with these buildings going on, as well as our retail and commercial, we're seeing a real increase in our ability to take those funds and renovate them back into what creates quality of life. And when I talked about 58 parks, that has happened. not to mention all the services that we can offer. We have a community services department. I always say they're on steroids. They're going nuts. They offer so many programs. The children wait for the book, we call it, to come out. They grab that and see activities and run to their parents and tell them, I want to be in this. And that's what keeps the town active.
And we talked a little bit about this. We had a friend, Christopher Thornburg, on recently, and he was always, one of the concepts that he brought on, that he discussed, was sometimes a misrepresentation of narratives when it comes to industrial.
There's a lot of that going on.
And one of the subjects that he was referring to was that the amount of job creation that it implements in a city. Can you kind of let us know, based on how you're measuring it on your side, what is the impact of jobs? What has it done to the overall economic well-being of the residents in the city of Fontana?
It's made the difference. Now, people were driving when they first came out to Fontana, to Orange County, Los Angeles County, and as far as San Diego, to work. They don't have to do that now because most of the industrial building coming into Fontana is manufacturing. Everybody wants to get hung up on logistics. They want to go after Amazon and all the trucks. We're surrounded by 4 freeways. So we're going to see trucks. And we have a railway that goes through Fontana. And by the way, we're 3.5 miles from the largest cargo airport in the world, practically, Ontario.
That's right.
So all that traffic is coming into Fontana. But all those places need people. So our residents are working at these places. So that's what's increasing our sales tax, because they got money to go to Costco, to Lowe's, to go places to spend their money, buy cars. The biggest tax generator in our town is car dealerships. And we have a space for that. So you don't have to go all over. You can get your car right there in your city. So all of this generates sales tax, which helps us provide those services.
You have an interesting story getting into public service. You've been with the city of Fontana since 2010?
Actually, I started in 2002.
2002.
I did 2 terms as a council member, and then I ran for mayor in 2010.
Can you tell us a little bit about what kind of drove you into public service, a little bit about your background, like I said, your vision for the city and how it's all kind of been incorporated into that?
Well, my parents came from Birmingham, Alabama. I grew up during the civil rights era, and it was rough. And my parents would put us in front of the television and watch the news because we had family down south. My grandmother it was 13 of them out here from Alabama. She said basically she didn't want to see her kids get lynched. It was so much going on. But every summer we went back to Alabama. And my grandmother was a strong woman. She would teach us about the Bible, but she also taught us to serve others. My mom and dad were the same way. They said the more you do for others, the more you do for yourself. So I grew up watching the news, watching politics, figuring out where I was, what was happening. I grew up on the Watts riot, standing on our front porch, watching our one market burn down, just scared to death. And then as I got older, I began to get more involved. I was student body president at practically every school I went to. And I found out if I told people what I was going to do and I got it done, that they would come with me because I wanted a better world. It was just that simple. So I got an opportunity to be able to work with Mayor Tom Bradley. He's my mentor. God bless him. He's gone now. But everything he taught me about civility and working with everybody, no matter what your nationality, it really stuck with me. I was one of the first African Americans that was bused to integrate Ella Unified. Got to go to Dana Junior High School in San Pedro. Got down there and it was by the Navy and the Air Force. I can't tell you the amount of different children I got to play with, but it taught me to love everybody. And we were strong in our church, strong in our faith. I was doing the announcements and playing piano for not only my church, but other places. So I got to meet so many people. So for me, public service was not, you might do it. It was more like part of my DNA. But I did work in banking for 16 years. And even then I was serving companies. I used to work in Orange County trying to save companies from going under for the bank. I did cash management services. So when I got the opportunity to come back to serve, it was quick. I walked into Upland as a consultant to do their housing program. I was 6 months pregnant, living in Compton, driving out there every day. And I would drive up and down the area and I found Fontana and I fell in love with it. And I bought a house right between Rancho and Fontana. I told the realtor, I want Rancho quality, but I want Fontana prices.
Okay.
So I worked in Upland for 29 years. I retired there 10 years ago as Deputy Public Works Director. All I did was serve there.
It sounds like you're a mission-driven person.
Very much.
You know, one of the things I was really excited to have you on was, you know, as you know, in the industrial real estate space, it is primarily a male-dominated industry.
Yes.
So it makes it a lot more of a fruitful and exciting conversation, especially to have a woman like yourself who's in an influential role to share her story. What was it about Fontana that actually kind of drove you to the city? And how did that evolution evolve when you decided to kind of become the mayor? How the culture in the city of Fontana might have changed since the moment you started till present day?
Well, first of all, I moved in a place called Village of Heritage. I still live there today in the same house from 1993. It was family orientated. I wanted my family to be solid. In Compton and South Central LA, there was so much going on. All I did was protect mold. But I got involved with the schools, the educational level, arguing with the board all the time. But something about Fontana, when I got there, I saw the opportunity. I remember my neighbor came over and told me the kids can play outside here. Well, we didn't do that where I moved from because everybody was drive-by shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So I always had to take my kids out of the city to participate in activities. So that's where the park love came from me. I wanted them to be able to walk across the street to a park and enjoy themselves without having me be armed to help them play.
Mm-hmm.
The other part is Fontana was right where it needed to be. The Kaiser still had gone down. It was using redevelopment in a very big way, trying to get infrastructure, but it was always at risk that it could go away because, as usual, the state always wants to use the cities as ATMs.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do. We're always battling to keep our local control. But Fontana was doing it in a very organized manner. So we as neighborhoods came together just to fix our landscape. So I became the landscape committee chair. And yeah, I was worried about sprinklers and how much the trees are going to cost us. But we did it in a way we were unified. So why not take over the city government? And that's what we did.
Wow. That's a great story. And you kind of have you do have a pro-business mindset.
Absolutely.
And so how did that come to be?
Well, you have to have jobs. You know, I don't want people dependent on aid and things of that sort because I always feel like if more of us are able to work and take care of ourselves, then we can take care of those that can't.
Mm-hmm.
But if everybody's getting aid and everybody's waiting on the government to do something for them, nothing gets done. So jobs are important. So that's why I put together the Mayor's Education Coalition, because so many of our kids don't want to go to college, but we want them to go to school. We want them to upgrade themselves. But if they don't want to go, what are we going to do? Push them on the sidewalk?
Mm-hmm.
Let them go to jail?
Mm-hmm.
Let them be homeless? We don't want that. So the Education Coalition I put together brought all our school districts together. And basically what we're doing is just exposing them to other careers. And you know who's been the friendliest in helping that exposure? Has been manufacturers,
Mm-hmm.
as well as logistics,
Mm-hmm.
right there in our city. And it provides them an opportunity to make a choice. They find jobs that are not just on the forklift. They need personnel directors. They need people that can create and develop, that we have the gamers working on the computers. Everybody's worried about the robots. Who do you think is going to manage them? People.
Sure.
So our kids are being exposed to those options so they don't have to leave the area. They can stay home.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're working on housing. We've always been the affordable housing capital, but our housing has really increased. But we're trying to find ways we can create housing for everyone because we need our youth to stay in our community.
And what would you say is the relationship as far as these two product types coexisting in the city of Fontana? And just kind of tying this back to kind of narratives, you know, some of the narratives we hear is that, for example, residents may not be happy with the number of industrial buildings that may come out. But what is the reality of the impact? And, you know, you spoke to jobs, but is traffic really a concern? Or, you know, how are these concerns being mitigated?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I had this discussion because, you know, I'm getting ready for reelection. we did some focus groups, and I do that. I just want to know where people are at. So you invite people in and you talk to them. The number one question I asked when that came up is, when you bought your house, what did you pass by? Warehouses. Okay, so you saw these buildings, right? Yes, ma'am. But why did you buy your house anyway? And they looked at me. Okay, Mayor, you're just being funny right now. I said, no, I'm serious. The area that is most impacted from most of the residents' standpoint is in the South. But I live by warehouses, and I have for years. The traffic in some cases is time periods. And people know when those trucks are out, so they know not to go in that direction if they're in a hurry. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, everybody has to coexist on those highways. So we have developed, with the help of the federal government and our regional transportation agency, 5 interchanges. Actually, 5 now. Interchanges that we've been able to develop to keep the traffic flowing. And then if you look at what is going on with our freeways, the San Bernardino Transportation Authority, they are doing everything in their power to make sure that that traffic doesn't stop and that everybody can flow and coexist. So we're doing what we need to do with traffic modeling, developing, making sure the roads are good to make sure that we don't have those problems. Are we perfect? No. Are we going to be perfect? Yes.
Love it. A quick note for our listeners. If you're an owner, asset manager, or leasing manager with a 100,000 plus square foot building in vacancy coming up in the next 18 months, I'd love to talk. A lot of assets in this market have been represented by the same legacy brokers for years. Sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't. If you're ready for a fresh, aggressive approach to reposition and market your property, please contact us. I'm Assar with Voit Real Estate Services, and let's add value to your portfolio. So just winding the calendar back a little bit to the early 2000s, 1999, 2002, when you first got started, how would you say the city of Fontana has evolved?
Well, I got to tell you, historically, it was the Southern California headquarters for the Klan. I didn't know that. My dad, every time I tried to move, my mom and dad would talk me out of it because my church, my family, everybody was right there. And this time I told my ex-husband, I said, we're not going to tell anybody we're moving. We're just going to do it. Finally, the day before, they finally said, where you guys moving to? And I said, Fontana. My dad went, what? So you're going to drop the Crips and the Bloods for the Klan? That was the reputation in Los Angeles Fontana had. And I did not know that.
Well, I didn't know it either, but it was before my time.
It was really interesting. So the night I got appointed to the council, the next day when I went to work, the press was going crazy. And they go, you're the first African-American and female that has been appointed to this council. That was the heading, appointed, but can she get elected? That's what people thought of Fontana. When I got elected, everybody got over that. But running for mayor in 2010, not only being the first African-American, but the first female mayor, that was something to look at.
Absolutely.
So with that all said, I feel we've evolved. We're very diverse. We're predominantly Latino. But what I see is people coming together for unification for families, but we also all support public safety. You know, during the era with the George Floyd thing, there was no defund police coming out of our mouths. No. We support our police department and our fire department. People need to feel safe. And when people feel safe, people don't mind doing business in those communities.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we really support our business communities. So the first thing I did as mayor is make sure our Chamber of Commerce was strong. We have one of the strongest chambers in the region, if not in Southern California. And it involves all the different types of businesses. And yesterday we had our 3rd annual business summit where we announced we're giving incentive loans for businesses that come downtown. 0 interest.
Wow.
As long as they stay in business, up to $150,000. That's a big anchor for a restaurant or retail establishment. So we're doing whatever we need to do to get people and incentivize them to come to Fontana and give our residents the jobs.
And this pro-business mentality, you mentioned earlier that, you know, you played an intricate role in planning in the general plan for Fontana. Can you tell us a little bit about that and
Absolutely.
how that's evolved?
What happened in, I believe it was 1999, around 1999, 2000, the mayor came to me and said, look, we're going to have a general plan committee and we'd like you to be on it. Well, part of the things that I did when I worked for the city of LA through Councilman Robert Farrell was to make sure our zoning made sense with our commercial. That was one of the projects they had me work on. So I'm like, general plan, I'm with you. And we got on that committee, but what he did was so unique. They brought businesses, developers, retail, churches, community people, all in the same room. They had not renovated their general plan in years. So I got a chance to be part of that planning process. So I'm living out that 20-year plan. And I know where the parks were going to go, where the industrial would be, where the commercial was going to be. But the bigger plan was, how are we going to get there? The only way we could do it was with redevelopment. So we figured out we need to attract the right businesses, have the right mix. So if one goes down, the other one doesn't drop too. We're big in healthcare. Kaiser, Fontana has the largest Kaiser in California. And they started in Fontana. They started at Kaiser Steel. They needed healthcare for the workers. So that's the way I look at things. Our council is always strategically planning every year. Every dime, we know where it's going to go. We work with our staff. We come up with innovative ideas, and we all strategically work together to make it work.
How did you guys have the foresight? Because I know the plan that you speak to, you're essentially talking about the zoning, for example, the Southwest Industrial Park.
Right.
My understanding is that whole area at some point was turned into industrial. It sounds like when you were involved in the early 2000s. How did you have the foresight that that would be, an ideal segment for industrial development, and now it's become one of the most sought after industrial spaces in the country?
Well, I can't take full credit. 40 years before I even showed up, somebody thought about that. They saw the plans for that airport. They knew someday we'd be real close to that runway and product would come from the port. They knew that. So basically, when you look at Fontana's history, our infrastructure in the South was terrible. There were chicken farms with flies. It was a mess. I remember when I first moved there, I bought a new car. A goat ran out in front of me when I went to visit a friend. But I got to tell you this story.
Sure.
I got on the council. One of my first meetings was with a lady that called me, and she said, I'd like you to come and see what I'm living through. I've got flies everywhere. And I'm like, I've been down south. Come on. I got out the car, and as I walked, I saw her front door moving. And I'm like, what is that? Do I need more glasses? She got on the window and said, come around the back. We don't come through the front door. I was like this, walking past that area. Flies were all on her front door, all up on the fascia. And I walked around, and she opened the door real quick and let me in the back. And I was like scared to go back outside. She said, this is what I'm living. You just got appointed. You got to fix this, lady.
Quite the responsibility.
I'm telling you. But what it taught me is that the infrastructure did not exist down there. There were a couple of warehouses and things were growing, but nobody was paying attention to the infrastructure. So going forward, we started planning that if you're going to build, you're going to help. You're going to do a new sidewalk. You're going to do new streets. You're going to contribute to the community's benefit. You're going to make sure parks get built. You're not just going to roll up in here and start building buildings.
Right.
Now they have the most sophisticated infrastructure in our entire city. And what it's done is the value of the buildings and the homes have gone through the roof.
Absolutely. Stepping outside of commercial real estate, the city of Fontana has also won the award for being, the healthiest city in the country?
We got the first gold medal from Michelle Obama for our Healthy Fontana Initiative. I can't tell you the pride I have in that.
That's fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit about the Healthy Fontana Initiative?
Well, actually, it started when I was a council person. Everyone had a project, a passion. So I went to all the other council people and said, can I join in on yours? I was just this new kid on the block trying to fit in. And everybody said, get your own. Finally, I went to the city manager. I said, look, I want an initiative too. He said, well, what do you want to do? I've been watching a lot of Oprah. I said, you know what? I need to lose weight. The night I got appointed, I had all black on. When the newspaper came out, my brother showed me the picture. I was like, oh my God, I'm huge. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get the whole town to lose weight with me. We're going to put all our fat on a flatbed out in front of City Hall, and we'll all have a big party. And I'll cook. Now, that's not the way to lose weight, right?
Right.
So I asked Kaiser Hospital to come over and talk to me because I said, we need to get some experts. They came in, and they didn't get my memo. They thought I wanted to know about the health risk in our city. It was outrageous. There was such a high rate of diabetes in our town, not only amongst the adults, but the children. And I went to tour some of the schools, and there would be a line out the nurse's office. I asked the principal, what's going on here? Why aren't those kids out there playing? He said, they're getting their insulin shots.
Wow.
It was scary.
Yeah.
And then because we were predominantly Black and Latino community, you know, we cook differently. You know, I'll fest up. I like to fry fish. I fry my chicken. And then Latinos, they have all their lard with their tortillas and everything else. So one of my great friends, she's now our assessor, Josie Gonzalez, she had her own restaurant. And I got a tour of her restaurant. She was using real good grapeseed oil. And I said, why are you doing it? She said, I don't want to clog people's arteries. And I said, that's what we're going to do. We're going to cook healthy. So I remember bringing that first group of Latino and Black and white women in the room to cook. And we had one Chinese lady. And we all cooked a dish, but we all had to cook the dish without the risk.
And healthier version.
Healthier version. And guess what? The flavor was just as good.
Absolutely.
So we filmed that. And then we went on to talk about healthy initiatives. And then we want the children to do more. Now, on this tomorrow, Saturday, we're going to have our 9th anniversary for Fontana Walks. They call me the Pied Piper sometime. We have our own Pacific Electric Trail, which we turned into nice walking trails. You can bike, you can walk. Yeah, you can, do other things on that trail, run, and just don't run over anybody.
Sure.
But one of the things that we've done is we've got these trails. So what I do is usually walk from my house to City Hall some Saturdays so I can meet up with everybody. And I have a walking route by my house. We walk together. But what it did is that it brought the community together. We started exchanging recipes, and we started doing better. And for me, about 2 years ago, I had to have my hip replaced. And I said, you know what? I see body deterioration going on here. But what really did it, I hurt my shoulder, and my doctor, she's just phenomenal. She said, I'm not going to do MRIs on you. I'm not going to let you have a surgery. We're done with that. You have to lose the weight.
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter helped me. She threw away all of my cookies and all the other junk I was hiding and eating every night, stress eating.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started cutting out sugar. And that first 20 pounds, I decided to keep going. So probably about now I'm down 95.
That's incredible.
In 2 years. But for the community, Healthy Fontana got into the schools. The children would come to me in the stores. We're eating grapes. We're eating fruits. We have activities related to Healthy Fontana. We've gotten so many awards. We've gotten so many grants from Kaiser Hospital, as well as from different, the Lewis companies. We've worked with federal agencies. We're with Move with the Mayor now. It's all about your heart rate, your lungs. We're just doing everything we can, but it really propelled our need for the parks because we have gardens at some of the parks. We have all these sports activities. We have league activity on Saturday that probably drop another 30,000 people in our town every weekend. And so we've got that traffic coming in so that we can attract the business community.
For sure. You know what I love about your leadership style is very holistic, right? And I don't get the sense that, though you're, for example, pro-business, it's not that you're necessarily transactional. This is not about, hey, let's make a quick buck. You have a vision for the community as a whole, and you cover many different elements of that. And I think that type of energy is what mobilizes the community to get behind you.
Well, I got to tell you, our biggest initiative right now is homelessness. When you poll, that is the biggest issue, and we're attacking it in every way we can. But we've been working on it for years. It was almost 12 years ago when I went to Dallas with Pastor Dan Carroll from Water of Life, and we did CityLink. And we came back, we got a building for them, and now they have a campus, and they do social services. Mm-hmm. Because at that time, the county wasn't coming near Fontana. So I used to call them my social service department. And they've done a phenomenal job. They feed families. They help young women with children make sure they can sustain themselves. But more importantly, right now, they're helping us with homeless. We had different like duplexes, apartments. We had rented those out to nonprofits, but we brought them all back in, and now we're housing our homeless in those places, and we're helping them to get to the next level. But the proudest moment for me is bringing 8 cities to the west of me together to do a regional navigation center with 200 beds, recuperative care, and making sure we have that shelter. But everyone that comes in there will be assessed, evaluated, and we'll get them to the next spot they need to get them back on their feet.
And we talked about this a little bit ago, but you had mentioned that the Regional Navigation Center is actually the City of Fontana recently bought an industrial building in Fontana, right?
See, that's what people don't understand. Industrial buildings don't have to just be manufacturers or logistics. Do you know there's churches using industrial buildings?
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, churches are using them. Schools are using them. People don't like to talk about this, but the mortuaries are even using them. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, people don't understand this market. And a lot of times they pass by, they don't see a lot of cars during the day because they don't necessarily work during the day.
That's right.
They're 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. You go down the Swift area, good luck. It is packed. Trucks coming and going. So a lot of the narrative might fit if you're environmentally friendly, but what they haven't seen is what a remarkable job we're trying to do to keep our residents safe. You know, people that come to our council meeting complaining about all these issues have never even asked for an appointment to sit down and talk to me. Mm-hmm. You know, after the meeting, if they're still there, because usually it's sound bites during public comment and then everybody runs out. But if they're still there, I walk up to them, I say, can we chat? And we start to talk and we find out, you know what? We care about the same thing.
On the same page.
On the same page.
On that topic, you're currently running for reelection.
5th term.
Can you tell us a little bit about what your goals and initiatives, you've told us a little bit about it, but maybe in the next term, and what your view is for the future in the city of Fontana?
We got to take care of our homeless population. I always tell people, these people didn't come from Mars or Venus. They're our family, they're our friends, they're our neighbors. They just need our help. And mental health and substance abuse is a big part of that. We've got to help them. Particularly our youth that are foster and they're now out of the foster care system. They're becoming the growing population for homelessness. But we don't want them to go to jail. We want them to go to school. We want them to prosper. The other part is we have to stay with our public safety. There's so much changing technology-wise. They've got to have the right tools to make sure they solve these crimes. Mm-hmm. If things sit up on the bookshelf and never get solved, the crime just keeps going on. So we got to make sure they're up to speed and they're trained. They're making sure that they know how to de-escalate issues and make sure they know how to help with family situations. The other part is the economic growth. We're right there, but we're not there. We got to get there. That's what I really want to work on. Our downtown is happening. It's coming out of the ground as you and I speak. I want to get that done. We're getting a new city hall. People don't realize that because we have so much staff, we had to buy up most of the downtown area to house our staff. We bring them all under one roof, one-stop shop. Those buildings are now available for us to help growing businesses, particularly small businesses. We're really focused on businesses that are already in the city, mom and pop shops. You know, people want franchise. They want these big restaurants. The best food is coming out of the restaurants that we have now.
Yeah.
Local. So we're getting them to come downtown. We'll have those buildings available for them to use. So Fontana's on the move. So I want to keep it moving forward. Will I retire one day? Probably.
But not now.
Not now. You know what? I keep telling people, you've trained me. Let me show you what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mayor Warren, it's been a pleasure to have you here. I've really enjoyed the conversation. We fully support you, the industrial real estate community, and you've been, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, Fontana has really been a beacon for the Inland Empire. So thank you again.
Thank you too. And you know, I've got to put a shout out to the people that work in the industrial circle. People call me all the time that are working in these buildings. Please don't let them take our jobs. And we're committed to being able to get along with everybody, but they don't have to worry. These jobs are good jobs that help support families. We just need to make sure everybody's qualified or knows how to get them. And that's another part I want to work on more.
Absolutely. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Adding Value with Shai Assar. We'll continue bringing on guests with stories and insights that matter in the world of industrial real estate. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend or colleague. And if you're a landlord, tenant, or investor exploring opportunities in the Inland Empire, feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to help you navigate the market.